The moment men begin to obsess over a woman is rarely when she does more, not when she explains more, not when she understands more, not when she gives more. Rather, when she stops, when she draws a line, when she no longer lowers herself. From that moment, a feeling called anxiety begins to appear in his mind, and obsession begins precisely from that anxiety. Today, this is not a story about how to hold on to a man. It is about how a man begins to think on his own, even when nothing is done. How his emotions start to follow when a woman holds her center. This is a story about that structure. The first boundary is not explaining every emotion. Many women say this in relationships. Why they felt hurt. Why those words were painful. Why they reacted the way they did. They try logically and calmly to make him understand. In that moment, the woman appears mature, rational, like a good person. But in the male unconscious, it is stored like this. This woman understands and calms down when I explain. Can be managed by me. Explanation can reduce conflict, but it cannot create obsession. What stays long in a man's mind is not an emotion that was understood, but a space that was not. Why did she say nothing? Why did she stop explaining? Why did her expression change? Those questions do not leave his mind. When a woman does not reveal every emotion, a man begins to imagine, and imagination is far more powerful than emotion. The second boundary is not becoming the center of contact. A woman who is always reachable. A woman who always replies. A woman who always keeps space open. She feels stable, comfortable, and predictable. But obsession arises toward what is unpredictable. This is not about playing games. This is not about replying late on purpose. It is simply a question of whether a woman's life, a woman's time, a woman's rhythm clearly exists. The feeling that even if his message does not arrive, she is still living her own day. When that energy is delivered without words, he feels it. This woman is not someone who is always there when I need her. At that moment, a feeling arises in him that he could lose her, and people naturally focus on what they feel they could lose. The third boundary is stepping down from the role of always understanding. Women often take on the role of understanding to keep the relationship going. He must have been tired. That could happen. I understand your position. The problem is not saying those words. The problem is lowering one's own standards along with them. Understanding is possible. Empathy is possible. But even so, there is a line that cannot be accepted. The moment that line is held, the structure of the relationship changes. For the first time, he feels this. This woman does not move by persuasion. This woman is not controlled by emotion alone. That recognition creates respect. And respect turns into obsession. The fourth boundary is not acting out of fear of losing. Many women collapse at this point. If I say this, will he leave? If I show this, will he pull away? If I keep my standard, will the relationship break? So they endure. They let it pass. They fold themselves. In that moment, the relationship appears to continue. But within it, the woman's presence slowly fades. Obsession is the fear that someone might leave. When a woman fears being left, a man becomes comfortable because he knows the control of the relationship already belongs to him. When a woman shows, not with words but with her posture, that she can leave, his mind finally begins to tense. She could be fine without me. That thought is the seed of obsession. The fifth boundary is choosing one's own state over the other person's reaction. This does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean becoming indifferent. It simply means changing the direction of the question. How does he feel? What will he think? Instead, is this situation right for me? Does this relationship respect me? When this question begins, a woman's center returns from the outside to the inside. And the moment a woman stands in her own center, he begins to move around her. Ironically, the less a woman focuses on his emotions, the more he focuses on hers. Obsession is not something a woman can force. Obsession is a natural byproduct of a woman protecting herself. The 5 boundaries discussed today are not dating techniques. They are the way a woman treats herself. And when a woman begins to respect herself, a man pours out his emotions on his own to avoid losing her. Obsession is not a request. It is a response. The moment you draw a line for yourself, the other person's heart stays trying to cross that line. Why these boundaries do not work only in romance, but carry power across the entire human unconscious. A psychologist, Carl Jung, once explained it this way. Humans believe they choose consciously, but in reality they are pulled by the unconscious. People project more energy onto what they cannot control than onto what they feel they already possess. This applies directly to relationships. When a woman fully exposes her emotions in time and becomes someone always accessible, the male unconscious classifies her as already secured. But when a woman leaves a closed space within herself, areas not explained, time not easily granted, emotions not freely shared, that empty space stimulates the other person's unconscious. This phenomenon was described as projection. When there is a space that cannot be known, people fill it with their own desire and anxiety. That is why the quieter a woman becomes, the louder a man's thoughts grow. That is why the more a woman holds her center, the more others revolve around her. This is not a technique. It is a psychological structure. And here there is one important shift. These boundaries do not exist to create obsession. Obsession is only a side effect. The true purpose of these boundaries is for a woman to reconnect with herself. Many women lose their inner sense within relationships. They hand over their state to the other person's mood, reaction, and words. At some point, how the other person feels becomes more important than what they themselves feel. At that point, a woman's energy scatters outward. This was described as loss of self. When the self is lost, love, attraction, and center cannot be sustained. That is why inner growth for a woman does not begin by letting go of a man. It begins by reclaiming herself. At this moment, you may ask yourself, am I protecting myself in this relationship? Am I respecting my own emotions? Am I losing myself in order not to lose someone else? The moment you answer these questions honestly, your posture changes. Your words change. Your expression changes. Your choices change. And this change is transmitted without explanation. Because people respond, not to words but to energy. When a woman stands again at the center of her life, a single message, a single silence, a single distance takes on a completely different meaning. The obsession a man feels then is not because he wants to hold her. It is because his unconscious has begun to shake. Now let us expand this story beyond romance into life itself. A woman with boundaries is not strong only in love. In work, in relationships, in life choices, she holds her own standard. That standard draws people in. Because someone connected to themselves always carries a depth that cannot be fully reached, and people instinctively feel that depth. I hope this story is not remembered only as a way to make men obsess. This is a story of a woman returning to herself, respecting her time, protecting her emotions, not lowering her standards. As a result, love may stay or it may leave. But one thing is certain. From the moment a woman begins to protect herself, her life never returns to what it was before. And at that point, some will leave and some will obsess. That choice always belongs to the other person. The woman simply stands in her place. And if as you listen to this, your heart feels a little heavy, that is not because you are weak. It is because you have placed yourself last for far too long. Now it is okay for you to be on your own side. You may go slowly. You do not need to be perfect. If at this moment you choose even once to protect yourself, that is enough.